Whether the team is performing clean or unsightly, we'll cover it all here on Washington Football Nightly. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So upon further review, I've had a chance to comb over the offensive film. I'm putting the finishing touches on the second half. I've already uploaded the first half film to Patreon. If you're not a Patreon member, what are you waiting on? You're missing out on some great stuff. I want to thank all of my new patrons as well, and all of you who have already been patrons. Thank you so much for your patronage. A lot of great stuff that we are able to uncover and unearth through this film study. So again, if you're not on Patreon, what are you waiting on? Become a patron. Down in the description, you can find the link and you can dive right into the film with the rest of us. So I was able to comb over the Washington offense in week 6, and it's so frustrating, first and foremost, because when you go back and watch, you see missed opportunities, and we should have won that game. After watching the Cowboys debacle last night, and I sat here and told you guys on Sunday, and I sat here and told you again on Monday, that this division is far from over and that we have a great chance. And I know some of you could care less about the division. You want nothing to do with the division. You don't want to win this division. You don't want to go to the playoffs and lose in the first round. Who's to say that that even takes place? I don't know. I want to win the division. I can't speak for anybody out there. Whether you want to win it or not, that's not my prerogative. Okay. I want to win the division. There are players in that locker room that want to win the division. There are coaches that are coaching that want to win the division. I want to see this team have some success. I don't care how small it may be. I would like to have some success. But we can't get out of our own way. And there were opportunities throughout the course of this game. You know, the biggest takeaway I had, it wasn't the turnovers, was it Scott Turner's play calling. And I think I've said this to you guys before, but this game reiterated it again. And I know we've talked about this a number of different times, but we don't always know exactly where to place the blame until we get to the film. And then the film tells the story, and then you can properly place your blame where it belongs. In this game, we talked about Scott Turner before we had a chance to comb over the film, not taking shots down the field, not giving this offense a chance to shorten these drives. You know, it was crazy. And I talked yesterday about how we had 8 drives in this game and we only punted once. And coming into the week, we were by far and away the most 3-and-out and punting football team in the league. We had the most punts through the first 5 weeks of the season heading into week 6. We only punted once. But you know what also was pretty telling is that we had some long-ass drives in this game, and we're not good enough to sustain offense and continue to have these long drives and not come away with points. And it is absolutely killing us. And I'm going to look up, because I think we had a 13. I think we had a 14. I think we had 2 11s. I think we had a 12. It's ridiculous how many of these drives that were in this game. I'm going to look at it really quickly. And we had a 12-play drive to start the game, missed a field goal, only 39 yards. It took us 12 plays to go 39 whole entire yards to then miss a field goal. If that's not insanity, I don't know what is. And that's not the first time it's taken us this long to get that far down the field only to miss a field goal. Then you got an 11-play, 70-yard drive that results in another field goal. Okay, so you go 11 plays, 70 yards, and you can't punch it in. That takes you 5 minutes and 46 seconds. The first drive that took you 12 plays and 39 yards took a whole whopping 6 minutes for you to go barely 40 yards and still not come away with points. 13 plays, 70-yard drive, 6 minutes of the clock. So you're shortening the game, and if you don't score, you're hurting yourself. So that's the first half for us. 12-play missed field goal drive, 2-play interception drive, 11-play field goal drive, 13-play touchdown drive. End of the first half. We only had the ball 4 times in the first half. That's it. Go to the second half, 3-and-out punt. That was the lone punt of the day. 14-play, 70-yard, 6 minute and 55 seconds. So essentially a 7-minute drive to settle for a damn field goal. That's how you lose games. You know my mantra. You know my motto. Field goals don't win games. Touchdowns do. If we score a touchdown on either that drive or the 11-play, 70-yard field goal drive, you win this game. I know it's easier said than done. And I know you can say, well, the Giants had opportunities. They threw an interception in the red zone, and they had another drive where they went 8 plays, 73 yards, and they had to settle for a field goal. Duh, I get that. I understand that concept. But we had more drives than they did that resulted in field goals. We had more scoring opportunities than they did in this game. We did, not them. We had a 7-play, 22-yard drive that resulted in the fumble, scoop, and score for the Giants. That was moving down the field. Then we had the 10-play, 75-yard touchdown drive in just 2 minutes and 53 seconds, which is mind-boggling that when the game's on the line, we can move it that quickly. But when we're just sludging and trudging and plodding through the game, it takes us forever just to get in scoring range, only to have to settle for field goals. It's nauseating. And I watched the film, and it's a 2-yard gain. It's a 3-yard gain. Now it's 3rd and 5. And then we get 6. Move the sticks. It's a 4-yard gain. It's a 4-yard gain. Now it's 3rd and 2. We get 1. Now it's 4th and 1. We go for it. We get 1. And now you move the sticks. Then you pop a 12-yard run and you're like, hey, how about that? And then it's a 1-yard run. Then it's a no-yard run. Now it's 3rd and 9. Then you throw an 11-yard pass on a wide receiver screen. 1st down, move the sticks. And this is the process we continue to go through all game long. It's a cycle where you just get 1 or 2, and then you barely convert on 3rd down, and you do it all over again. We're not good enough to have to continue to sustain offense this way and score touchdowns. We have to get bigger chunk plays. That's what's killing us. I saw a stat today. I think it was John Keim on Twitter where I saw this. Washington is dead last in the league with 10 carries of over 10 yards this season. Think about that for a second. How easy it is to get a 10-yard gain on the ground in this league. And you can do it in a variety of ways. You can do it on a jet sweep. You can do it on, a regular handoff. You can do it with read option. There's so many ways you can get 10 yards on a carry in today's NFL. And we only have 10 of them through 6 weeks. That's mind-boggling. So when I watch the film and I see a team consistently, and remember, the Giants, you could talk about the Giants all you want, about how trash they are and they're this and they're that. The Giants are good defensively. Believe it or not. They may stink on offense, and they are horrible on offense, are the Giants. But they are actually a very credible defensive football team. Statistically, they're the best defensive unit in the division. So I was impressed with the way we were able to consistently move the football down the field. And they had pretty much all of their bullets. Their gun was fully loaded defensively. All their injuries are pretty much on the offensive side of football, not the defensive side. They were relatively healthy, and we consistently moved the football on their defense. It was impressive. The problem was we didn't finish off drives, and we can't get chunk plays for whatever reason. And some of the issue was Kyle Allen. There were opportunities to push the football vertically, and he just didn't, similar to Dwayne. Then there were opportunities for us to make better runs, and it wasn't done. There were opportunities for better blocks to take place. That wasn't done. And so drives ended because of self-inflicted wounds at times. And that's the frustrating part. Drives ended sooner than they had to because we didn't execute. Or a big play was missed, and it was missed because we didn't execute. There are some holes in Scott Turner's play calling. There are some holes in Kyle Allen's game, obviously. But at the end of the day, my synopsis after watching the film, and hopefully you can come to that conclusion or come to your own conclusion after you watch the film, is that they were both okay. They need to be better. Both of them, the quarterback and the offensive play caller, need to be better. We need to execute better as an entire team. But at the end of the day, They were good enough to win this game. We should have won this game. And you could place blame in a multitude of areas. They should have been good enough to win. The offensive performance that we put up on Sunday should have been good enough to win us a 20-point ball game. If all the Giants are going to score is 20, we should have been able to win. Even with the turnovers, we should have been able to do enough offensively to win. We moved the football consistently. We should have been able to come away with the victory. And I'll keep pointing, and I did this in the Flick community. And so if you're not a part of the Mob Squad, MOBB, y'all stand up. As I mentioned before, if you're not a part of the mob, what are you waiting on? Mob Squad, stand up. I mentioned this in the comments in the community on Sunday when we were watching the game together. I said that third quarter drive, that we ended up settling for a field goal to tie the game up at 13. That was the one that we needed to score a touchdown on. That was the one to me that was a backbreaker. That's the one that hurt. We should have took the lead 17-13. We would have never looked back in that game. Everything that happened thereafter would have changed significantly if we're leading by 4. Instead, we settled for a damn field goal, a chip shot field goal, and tied the game up, and we left that door ajar. And until we get that killer instinct and we can punch that football into the end zone, we're going to continue to lose games to teams we have no business losing games to. So that's my synopsis of the game. I watched the film offensively, and I feel the same exact way I felt, even more so. And I tell you, when I watch the film, I feel affirmed a lot of times. We should have won the game. We were the better team. We moved the football very effectively. We could have moved it even better if we would have executed better, if Scott Turner would have called some better plays. That 2-point conversion, we thought it was hideous. It was hideous. Terrible play call. He's got to be better. But it shouldn't have come to that. End of discussion. Let's move on. In other news, there's a lot to talk about. So let's get the ancillary stuff out of the way so we can get to the juicy, salacious stuff. Joshua Garnett, Washington guard, former Washington guard, retired today. Decided he was going to hang it up. Only played in like 12 games in his career. Never really hit his stride as a first-round pick. Turned out to be a bust in this league. Washington gave him another lease on life. It didn't work out for him. He's going to hang it up. So that's going to open up a roster spot for someone on this football team. We'll see who they decide to promote, or if they decide to go outside the building and bring somebody else in. More likely than not, they're going to keep the energy on the practice squad. And he was a guy that they would protect just about every week because of the depth on the offensive line. We'll see what they decide to do with Joshua Garnett deciding to retire. Washington has announced, or Jason Wright, our team president, announced that Washington is considering allowing fans in the stands after the bye in week 8 for our first home game after the bye versus the Giants. And remember, I told you that they were playing around with the idea of 8,000 fans, roughly 10% of the maximum capacity at FedEx Field. Well, that number has been significantly reduced down to 3,500. Look, I could care less. The smaller the group, the better, because it's a less chance of other teams' fans infiltrating the stadium if it's a smaller amount, because at every Washington home game, there's at least 10 to 15,000 diehards there that are going to come no matter what. So if you reduce that number to 3,500, I'd like to think that you're going to get the vast majority of fans there being Washington fans, which is what we need. We need a concentrated group of Washington fans making it tough on the opposition, not the opposite way. So I actually like that it's only going to be 3,500 if they have, in fact, decide to open up the gates to fans after the bye week. That's something worth keeping an eye on, because I've seen other teams have fans in the stands, and it makes a difference. You'd be surprised at how much noise 3,500 fans in unison can make on a 3rd down and 7 in a crucial situation in a ball game. You'd be surprised. So I wouldn't cut my eye at that 3,500, and hopefully they're all Washington fans when they finally do decide to open up the gates, if they do, to fans this season. So let's get to the juicy stuff now. All of that stuff out of the way. Let's talk about the rumor mill. And two guys in particular that I want to talk about that could potentially be available. Now, the Falcons, I told you on my podcast last week that Arthur Blank, the owner of the Atlanta Falcons, said, look, there's no guarantees that Matt Ryan's going to be around. I'm not hitching my wagon to Matt Ryan. He's 35 years old. Depends on what we do this season. If we end up with a top tier pick, we might have to move on from Matt Ryan. If the next guy that gets this job doesn't want Matt Ryan as his quarterback and there's a guy in college that he wants, I'm not going to force Matt Ryan on the next guy that comes here. Now, if he wants Matt Ryan, I'm all for it. But if that next guy says, you know what? I want to run my offense with a dynamic, athletic quarterback. Matt Ryan doesn't fit the bill, and I want to move on from Matt Ryan. Arthur Blank says, I'm leaving the door wide open for you to do whatever you want to do. So, which is the direct opposite of what always happens when a coach comes here. They're usually saddled with some type of quarterback that they didn't ask for. But that's nor here nor there. Bottom line is, in that discussion started the rumor of, well, are the Falcons going to clean house? They're a talented football team, but the season didn't get off to the start that they wanted it to. They fired their head coach, Dan Quinn. They're now 1-5 after getting their first win of the season versus the Vikings on Sunday. And the trade deadline is rapidly approaching. And there's this thought, this prevailing thought out there that the Falcons could be potentially looking to clean house and start anew. They got some big-time contracts on the books for Ryan and Julio Jones. Julio! That they could clear out and really start over. They got rid of Vic Beasley, and they're looking to try to turn this thing over, potentially. And so I got to thinking, that's on the table. We'll leave that there. Let's put a pin in that. Boop. We're going to put a pin in that one. John Ross today, the former first-round pick of the Cincinnati Bengals, the first-round wide receiver back in the 2017 draft. 17, 18, 19, 20. Yeah. Decided that, hey, I want out. I got one offensive snap on Sunday versus the Indianapolis Colts. I'm perfectly healthy. I'm ready to go, and I can't get on the field. You drafted T. Higgins, and you forgot all about me. I want out. Now, Cincinnati has never been an organization that gives in to demands. We saw that with Chad Ochocinco, and thank God, because our dumbass organization was trying to give them 2 first-round picks for Chad Johnson. Thank God that they didn't want to give in to that one. Anyway, he wants out. And I think they could get something for him. So my question to you is, Julio Jones, John Ross, both potentially available. Are you interested in either of those guys? And what would you be willing to give up? I posed this question in the Flick community, Mob Squad, said stand up. And I've already got some responses, and I thought some of those were some really keen responses. So again, this news that I'm bringing to you, a lot of it we're talking about in the community. We're talking about a lot of things in the community. All right. So if you're not a part of the MOBB, come on now, down in the description of this and every video that I do, the link is there. There's no excuse. It's free. Get on board. Anyway, I myself want nothing to do with Julio Jones, even though I love him as a football player. We can't do anything with him. Not right now. We don't have a quarterback to get him the football. He's got a hell of a contract still. And he's 31 years old. I don't know if that means anything. I still think he's got at least 5 good years left in him. So technically speaking, the 31 doesn't really scare me. He's been injury prone, but he always seems to gut it out and play well. He went off against the Vikings on Sunday coming off of a hamstring injury. The guy is still a hell of a football player and one of the top 5 receivers in the league still. But he doesn't fit the timeline, as I've mentioned to you guys before. And he is a guy that right now we wouldn't be able to satisfy his needs. We don't have a guy that can get him the football right now. So I don't think Julio Jones fits in what we're trying to do. And I don't think he wants to come here, frankly. If I'm him, I don't want to come to Washington. There's nothing there for me right now. You guys are losers. I don't want to come there. I just dealt with some losing in Atlanta. I don't want to go from one loser to an even worse loser. I'm good. But John Ross, on the other hand, I'm intrigued. What is it going to take? Now, I came up with a couple of ridiculous ideas, and I want you to hear me out. So for John Ross, would you just do Dwayne straight up for John Ross? I give you my failed first round pick for your failed first round pick, and we call it even. I don't have to give you anything extra. You don't have to give me anything extra, and we just call it even. I don't want my stuff. You don't want your stuff. Let's just move on. We both have failed first rounders. Let's swap them and see if they are worth anything. Now, if I'm Cincinnati, I'm not really looking to put a true backup behind Joe Burrow to cause any confusion, even though I don't think Burrow would be fazed by Dwayne being his teammate again. I think Burrow is in a much better spot, and I can't see him ever getting in a position where people are going to be thinking about benching him. But if you don't want that narrative, if you don't even want that story to even be a topic, then you wouldn't trade for a Dwayne. But I just said, what would you have a problem with that? I wouldn't. I'd do that in a heartbeat. Now, I don't know what the Bengals would be looking for John Ross, but if it's a reasonable deal, I know he's dealt with some injuries. He's a game changer. I go back to the start of I want to say it was either last year, the 2019 season, or 2018 season. No, it was the 2019 season. I'm sure of it. It was last year. Go back and look at the first 4 games of the season at John Ross and what he was doing. He was destroying the league. And remember, the Bengals had nothing at receiver last year, and he was single-handed. Well, they had Tyler Boyd too, but he was single-handedly carrying that team the first 3 weeks. They almost went to Seattle and won because of John Ross early in the season last year. I want to say it was week 1 last season. John Ross was a man on a mission before he got injured last year. And that's his problem. He can't stay healthy. I'd take a late round flyer on him if they say, hey, give me your 5th round pick and we'll call it even. I'd slide him at 5 quick, fast, and in a hurry. I'd even entertain a 4th round pick for him. Nothing higher than that, though. But this guy's got something you can't teach. And when he's locked in, he's got a chance to be special. I like John Ross, and he could add something that we could desperately use on this football team, and that's speed. And I thought about this other package, and this is another hypothetical. I want you to tell me what you think down in the comment section. What if I said to you, the Falcons approached us and they said, look, we stink this year and you stink this year. We ended up with the 2nd pick in the draft. We're going to take a quarterback. You ended up with the 7th pick in the draft, you being Washington. Here's what we want to do. We want your 1st round pick this year and a 5th round pick next year. And we'll give you Matt Ryan and Julio Jones right now. Boom. Deal done. We want 7 overall. And we want your 5th round pick in 2022. And they're both yours. Would you do it? Would you do it? You get a veteran quarterback that can come in and help you win right now. And you get a top 5 wide receiver to go along with Terry McLaurin. Would you do it? Now, number 7 overall could net you a young quarterback. You might still be outside of the range that it would take to get you a Trey Lance or a Justin Fields. You're not getting Trevor Lawrence at 7. We all can acknowledge that. But you're still in the neighborhood of maybe one of these other quarterbacks that could potentially be moving up draft boards, like a Kyle Trask, if you're interested in that kind of quarterback. There are other guys that will be in this draft that will be very intriguing. A lot of you seem to be jumping on this Zach Wilson bandwagon from BYU. Who's to say he even comes out? He may go back to BYU for one more season. But let's assume he comes out and people start salivating over his talents. You might be right in the neighborhood of a Zach Wilson or a Kyle Trask or one of these other quarterbacks that everyone seems to be excited about. This is supposed to be a really deep draft for quarterbacks if everybody comes out, which I'm assuming they will. Would you be willing to part ways with the 7th overall draft pick to get your hands on a 35, soon to turn 36-year-old Matt Ryan, who probably still has a good 5 or 6 years of football left in him because that's the going rate now for veteran quarterbacks, and a Julio Jones who will be 32 years old but still looks like he's got at least 3 or 4 more good top quality, top 5 wide receiver years left in him? Or would you say, nah, I'm good. Don't want to pay those guys the contracts that they currently have, and I'd like to keep my number 7 overall pick. Thanks, but no thanks. What would you do? I'm going to leave that in your lap. Do with it what you must. But I'm going to go ahead and glide to the side and allow you to get back to your regularly scheduled programming for the evening. I didn't want much today. It's Tuesday. You know how it goes. Just wanted to drop a couple gems on your melon, see how you think about those things. See what you think about those things. Also, want to call to action. Go and become a member of the community. MOBB. Stand up. Washington Football Mob Squad. We in the building. And I want you to be in the building with us. So down in the description of this and every other video I do is the link. Click the link. If you don't have the app, download the app. And become a member of the Mob Squad. We changing the game over here, man. 1 member at a time. And I got that poll question. I'm going to add another one, and I'm going to start putting quizzes up there. All right, I got the poll question. What do you want to see this team do? And I got 5 options, and they're really good ones. And I've already almost got 100 votes, so you guys are participating, and I love it, and I want more. And I told you I'm going to leave it up there for a while because I really want to get the pulse of this fan base and kind of see where you guys are with this. I thank you guys for joining me. I really do appreciate you. Like this video. Subscribe to the Louie T Network if you haven't already done so. Look forward to chopping it up with you guys. As always, remember, we'll be live tomorrow night, 8:30 for Washington Football Nightly. Until then, I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. Remember, if it's not your man T, it's not, I repeat, not the best NFL coverage it could be. Until next time, I'm Louie T, and this has been Washington Football Nightly. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap. Hand to Riggins. Good hold. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20. He's gone. He's gone.